Hi, and welcome to 5 Reasons Why Lewis Hamilton is not the GOAT of Formula 1. Before we start, let me tell you what I'm not going to say in this video, because I suspect the comments could get out of hand. So in this video, I'm not going to say that Lewis Hamilton is not a great driver. And I'm not going to say that Lewis Hamilton is not the best driver of his generation. What I'm going to say instead is 5 reasons why Lewis Hamilton is not the GOAT of Formula 1, which is different, right? Reason number 1. It's impossible to compare drivers of different eras. We all know this. Who could tell how Jackie Stewart's pick would perform in a modern Formula 1 car? And how about Fangio or Lauda? And who could tell how Lewis could perform on those old cars? Maybe he wouldn't be comfortable risking his life at every race. Or maybe Lauda wouldn't be able to make a difference, since today all drivers get directed by the pit wall during the race. And what about driving requirements, handling of the cars, races based on fast stints, or about managing fuel and tires? It's just not possible to say. Reason number 2. It's impossible to compare drivers of the same era driving different cars. In fact, despite having a driver championship, at its core Formula 1 is a sport for engineers, and about the best cars. Ideas and money have always been key factors in winning, so much so that there are many great drivers that didn't win a title or didn't win much at all. Furthermore, in the last decades, the push to have big manufacturers competing in Formula 1 has only worsened the situation, making it impossible for private teams and many drivers to think about victories. What would happen if we had 20 Mercedes on the grid? That would be fun, right? But we will never know. What we do know is that a driver's success depends on the car he's driving, so talent and victories don't always go hand in hand. Reason number 3. Because even if you want to compare Lewis to some of the most decorated drivers, you will find that no one single driver in the Formula 1 history has ever had a top car for 8 consecutive seasons. Before that, the longest series of consecutive top-performing cars has been achieved by Ferrari between 2000 and 2004, 5 seasons or 85 races. 5 seasons that saw several technical and sporting regulation changes to try to level the field. In fact, Schumacher almost lost the title in 2003 and finally was stopped in 2005, where tire changes were prohibited. Before that, we had Williams, McLaren, Lotus, Brabham, and Ferrari and others winning for 2, maybe 3 consecutive years at best. But what Mercedes did was giving Lewis a top car for 8 seasons, or 160 races, in a time of great regulation stability, and that doubles the chances of winning that Schumacher had. This is something Formula 1 has never seen before, and no one else other than Lewis has ever had such luxury. Reason number 4. Because even if you insist comparing Hamilton to others, you will find that he had some seasons when he didn't perform as expected. Let's be honest, when Jenson Button joined McLaren in 2010, everyone thought he was going to be outperformed. Let's say somewhat like Valtteri Bottas is. But that didn't happen. And it didn't happen again with Rosberg in 2013. Not to mention 2016. So we can say that Lewis had some seasons when he was good, but wasn't clearly at the top of his form. And if you want to be the GOAT of Formula 1, a good season is not good enough. Reason number 5. Because if you insist in comparing Lewis' records to those of others, you'll find that driving a car that was far superior than the others for so many years, and with a lot more races per season, takes away the perception of something difficult being achieved. Let's take the pole position record for example. When Lewis reached Senna at 65 in Canada 2017, I was actually amazed by what Senna did, the poles, with the cars that he had. Think about it. Senna didn't have the luxury of debuting with a winning Formula One car, he had a Toleman instead. Then he drove for Lotus for 3 more seasons, a car that never was a real title contender. Then McLaren, a fantastic car, yes, in 1988, but not so far ahead of the opponents in 89, 90 or 91. Then 2 seasons in purgatory in 92 and 93. And then the last 3 races with a Williams that was stripped of all the electronics and lost its edge. 65 pole positions in 10 seasons with those cars are astonishing. On the other hand, up until the end of 2013, Lewis got 31 pole positions in 7 seasons. Keeping the same average, he would have needed 7 more seasons, total 14, to double that to 62 at the end of 2020, and still be 3 shy of Senna. But in reality, from 2014, Lewis had an incredible car for 3 consecutive seasons, his only opponent being Nico Rosberg. The pair were in a championship of their own, and in just 3 years and a bit, Lewis got the other 34 poles to reach Senna. I mean, Rosberg got 26 poles in the same time. Doesn't that look a bit too easy? So we could argue that the more Mercedes wins, the less impressive its drivers' achievements appear. Okay guys, so these were my 5 reasons why Lewis Hamilton cannot be considered the greatest of all time in Formula 1, in my humble opinion of course. Let me know what you think in the comments, and remember to be kind. See ya!